Okay, team, we are talking about enrolling a life policy and creating the urgency there. Okay, so can you hear me okay over there in Red Kingdom? You guys good? We are going to be using an employer booklet. So if you have one of those, an employee booklet for enrollment, I have the ALX only conditions. I have the life pitch that I use for my team, a script, and then I have a cheat sheet for quick enrollment guide. Okay. So I'll make sure you guys get those, and I'll share my screen so you guys can see those whenever I'm doing it. But when you're sitting down with an employee, remember the point of enrolling, the most important point of enrolling is to create the need. Okay. So when you're sitting down and you're talking to these people and you're talking about all the benefits that they have or that they are eligible for, it doesn't matter how much it costs if they don't need it. Okay. And if they need it, it doesn't matter how much it costs. Right? If you can create the need, they're not going to really care about is it $10 or is it $15 or 20 or 30, right? That is 100% what I've seen with Amanda. She can write somebody that's like, oh, I don't need anything. And then she gets them talking and she explains why they need it. And she can sell them $50 a week on that life insurance policy. It's outrageous. She's fantastic. But you have to create the need. Okay. So when you're enrolling, and we've done the other training where you've gone into like who we are, we're starting with our booklet, we've done our no cost benefits, everything's permanent and portable. We get you set up with your no cost. Now we're moving into the next section. Okay. Which is the life policies. Okay. So the transition from here to here is, okay, I've got you on the computer. You're going to receive those things in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The other part of what we do are those permanent and portable benefits. Okay. And there's 2 parts to what we do on those permanent and portable benefits. We do the permanent life insurance.
I'm John. I'm doing legislative research.
So when you have that and you can talk about their life insurance part here, we provide the permanent life insurance for the employees here. Do you already have permanent life insurance? People are going to say yes or no. If they say no, okay, that's why we're here. That's why we're here, to help provide that to you. Your employer set this up for you. I'm going to give you that information. Okay. If they say, yes, I already have life insurance. Great. Do you know if it's whole or term? Do you know what your face value is? Do you know whenever it terminates? Blah, 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 blah. You're asking deeper questions, because just because they have life insurance doesn't mean that they have permanent life insurance. It doesn't mean that they have enough coverage. It doesn't mean that it's not terminating before they turn age 80, whatever. Okay, there's still opportunity there, but you need to dig deeper. If that person's like, no, I have $250,000 worth of whole life, it never changes in cost, it never changes and terminates, I pay $12 a month for it. First of all, we know that's not correct, right? But you're not going to argue with them either. You're not going to argue with them. Okay, so then you pivot, and there's some tips that I'd love to give you on what you pivot to. Okay, if you're talking to somebody that has no life at all, you obviously know that you're going to start with, hey, the reason that we're here is to get you set up with that. Funeral and final expenses is the most important. Okay. So when you're talking to somebody, here are some pointers. Okay. If they don't have any life insurance, you're starting with funeral and final expenses. Listen, whoever you just listed on your accidental death benefit, because we just talked about their beneficiary. And the way I ask that question is, who do you want to list as your beneficiary? Who would be in charge of your funeral? That is literally the question that I ask. Because if they're going to say, it's my 3-year-old son, it's my 17-year-old brother, it's my mom, whoever that person is, you're going to use that information against them whenever you're talking about the life insurance. Because you're going to start with that and say, listen, if you don't have any life insurance, and that person, your 3-year-old son, your 17-year-old brother, your mom, do they have $20,000 sitting in the bank that they want to pay for your funeral? Most parents don't. And if they do have $20,000 sitting in the bank, they probably don't want to spend it on your funeral. They probably have that set aside for a new car or a house down payment or whatever else it is. So you're using that information against them, because they have to be able to picture it, you guys. The first thing that they're going to do whenever something happens to you, sir, is they're going to have to pay for a funeral or final expenses. Not everybody has that money sitting in the bank. And if they do have that money sitting in the bank, they don't necessarily want to use it for that expense. Okay, so when you're explaining life insurance, it does not matter what is on this page until you can get them to picture why they need it. Okay, they have to have the sense of urgency. You have to create that. Let's say somebody has $250,000 worth of coverage. They think that they've got it permanently locked in. It's going to last until they're 120 years old. It's never going to change in cost. They only pay $12. Great. First of all, we already know that that's not true, right? But okay, great job of setting that up for your family. That's fantastic. That's definitely going to pay off the house. It's going to help with car payments. It's going to make sure that your wife's staying on her feet for a while. It's going to make sure your husband is going to be able to survive a couple months without your dual income. But what about that funeral and final expenses cost, sir? If you have $250,000 life insurance policy and they walk into that funeral home with that $250,000 life insurance policy, how much do you think your funeral is going to cost? They're going to try to spend as much of that money as possible, right? That funeral home is a business. So they're going to try to spend as much of that money as possible. Now, you set that policy up so that it can help your family. And if they use $100,000 of it for your funeral, how much of that is left for your family? Not as much, right? The whole point of having that policy is for your family. So what we suggest is having multiple policies that would all pay out in case of your death, okay? So let's say you have a $10,000 or $15,000 policy with us that's going to pay out. That's going to be for your funeral set aside. You take that into the funeral home, $10,000, $15,000. That's all they think they can spend. And then that $250,000 policy that you have, that goes to your family, which is the entire point of the policy. Yes. So then you've explained to them why they need it. That will picture for them a picture in their mind, what is happening with those policies. Okay. If you're just like, oh, you already have 250,000, that's great. Maybe you should get some more. Why? Why should I get more? Right? And then why do I need to look at yours? Because mine's $12 a month and yours is way more expensive. Right? So then you're going to explain to them, well, ours is permanently locked in. It's never going to change in cost. It's locked in rate until your 100th birthday. All those different things. Does that make sense? So you have to picture it for them. You have to paint the picture. Use the beneficiary that they talked about in their accidental death benefit against them. Dig deeper. Don't just say, do you already have life insurance? And they say yes, and you move on, because you're missing opportunity there. If you don't know what they have, ask deeper questions. If they don't remember because, oh, my wife does that, or oh, my husband does that, or I can't remember, I got it 25 years ago. Well, do you remember where you got it? Did you get it through your bank? Did you get it through your State Farm car insurance? Did you get it through your homeowners? Did you add it to your health insurance? Is it only through work? Is it all right? Those are all good questions, and that's going to help you figure out that it is a term policy, that it does. Has it ever changed in cost on you? When's the last time that you looked at your face value? Okay. Oh, you have $50,000. That's fantastic. Good job. I'm really proud of you for setting that up for your family, because $50,000 is a lot of money. How much is your mortgage? How much do you still owe on your house? Do you guys have any car loans? Do you guys have coverage for all of those things? There's opportunity there, right? Now, are we trying to extort people? Absolutely not. If you have somebody that you're sitting with and they make $6 an hour, I'm not going into all that information, right? But most of the time, those people don't have anything at all. So I'm trying to paint the picture for them. What happens to your family if something happens to you? What's the game plan there? You guys have seen the GoFundMe's. You guys have seen the cups at the gas station and the pass the hat at church for people that can't afford their funeral. That's not what we want for your family. And you can afford to do this for a couple dollars a day. Even if we start with 5,000 right now, you can build on it next year whenever I'm coming back. Okay. So again, you have to paint the picture for these people. Everybody clear on that part first? Okay, perfect. So then what we're going to do is we're going to shift over to our life policy pitch. Okay. So you can do either way. I'm going to share my screen so that people that are with me can see. You can do this with the book. Okay. You can do this with the book. This is what I memorize and this is what I say. Okay. In general. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna ask them first, like, okay, Julia, do you take any kind of medications on a daily basis? Are you supposed to take any medications on a daily basis that you choose not to take? Okay, now whenever you take your blood pressure medication, do you guys take lisinopril? Do you take 10 milligrams a day? How many times a day do you take? You need to ask those questions. Why am I asking those questions? So I know what they qualify for. If this person has diabetes with insulin, if this person has had a heart attack, if this person has had cancer, if they take 14 different blood pressure medications, we're not going with group term. We're going to ALX, right? That's what this is showing you, okay? This ALX form that says, hey, these things, where am I here? This one. These things are going to disqualify them for group term and they're going to move to ALX. I would highly suggest if you know that something's happening with that person, you move them to ALX before you quote them on group term, because trying to sell group term that gets switched to an ALX is very difficult. If you already know they have health issues, they know they have health issues, guys, pivot to that, okay? You already qualify for our best group rate, and then you pitch them the correct policy, okay? So I'll talk to you about how you're gonna pitch ALX here in just a second. But you need to ask those questions. What kind of medications do you take on a daily basis? And then I usually joke, I'm like, what kind of medications are you supposed to take on a daily basis, right? If they look like they're not taking their medication, right? Yeah. I don't care. Get a question? Go ahead.
Okay, so on the life application, it says on the life in the last 3 years have they been diagnosed. I was just curious about that.
For high blood pressure, is that what it is? So yeah, when they're asking you, have you been diagnosed in the last 3 years with high blood pressure? You can say yes or no, right? And if it's no, it hasn't been in the last 3 years, you're still going to list the medication if they're taking medication. That would be down lower. There's a notes section where you can add medication. Yeah, Mallory? Yeah. So for anybody that can't hear her, she's saying that because he was diagnosed in 2017, but he's been on medication, I can still add that. On the left-hand bar, I'll show you that in just a second. There's a notes section where you can add notes for the underwriters to tell them what kind of medication they're taking, okay? Usually, the answer to that question is yes. So then you just put the medication in that box, right? But if it's past that or they didn't answer that question specifically, there is a box that you can add notes and say, hey, they were prescribed lisinopril in 2017, but the doctor said that he doesn't have to take it anymore. They removed that prescription in 2022. Then you just list it, lisinopril, 10 milligrams twice a day for high blood pressure. Or I've had somebody that's like, okay, for me, for example, whenever I was doing IVF, I was taking metformin. I wasn't diabetic. I had PCOS. I was having fertility issues. They gave me metformin and they gave me Clomid so that I could have a baby. Well, if you're trying to apply for life insurance and they're like, why are you on this medication for diabetes? They could flag that, right? If they look at my medication. Well, if I write that in the notes, why I'm taking it or why that person's taking it, then that can bypass some of the coding, right? They're like, oh, okay, well, they're taking that. Then I need to delve a little bit deeper. Does that kind of make sense? Cool. When you're pitching life policies, you're going to use this sheet right here, and you're going to be using this script right here. Okay. So let me switch that screen here. So you qualify for our best group rate, our group term to 100. This is the best life insurance you can get through an employer. And I say that because it covers you all the way through age 100. It's going to cover you through your 101st birthday. Most life insurance policies that you can find on the market renew after 5, 10, 20 years. This one doesn't do that. Okay. Most of them that you get through an employer, they change costs whenever you leave and you retire, or you just change jobs, right? This one doesn't do that. What you set up for yourself is exactly what you get to take. I usually, with my pen, I will go down here and I will circle or underline that it's completely portable. It goes with you at no additional cost. What you set up with that goes with you. It never is going to increase. That's the next line. Your rates will never increase and your coverage can never be reduced. I'm highlighting those parts for them because they're going to take this booklet home and reiterate those points to whoever their significant other is and say, hey, I set up this life insurance. Why do you set up life insurance? We already have 250,000. You're out of your mind. Why do you need more? Okay, let me explain why. Okay, and then they can show that. Usually what I do is, like this is the last part of it. Okay. Now, what most people do is set up this policy enough for funeral and final expenses. Okay. This is not meant to leave somebody $1 million. It's supposed to help with that funeral and final expense. Okay. So I'm going to write that down for you, is how we pitch it, everybody in this room. Okay? I know that these teams pitch a little bit differently. I don't know about Red Kingdom, how you guys pitch, but however you go into the pitch, right? But first, you create the need. Second, you explain why this is the best life insurance you can get through an employer. Third, deflect what the cost is until you're ready to pitch that cost. Okay, however you and your team do that. Make sense? Okay, if you're doing a different policy than the group term 100, group term 65, right? So if my person that's sitting in front of me is between the ages of 20 and 40, I'm probably going to pitch the paid up at 65 option, right? If they're a little older than that, I'm going to wait until I write down prices and I'm going to talk to them about what they can afford. And then you can always add that option, right? Okay, well, it's giving me an option that you can be paid up at 65, but that's going to change the cost to be okay? If they're younger though, I'm going to go ahead and pitch 65. I'm going to go ahead and say like, look, you get the very best option. Yours is going to be paid up at age 65. That means whenever you're getting ready to retire, your bill's paid in full. You have no more bills, but that policy stays in effect until your 101st birthday. Okay. Any questions on how to pitch group term 100, group term 65 right here? Okay. Let's say you have somebody that is on medication or does have a health issue. Okay. I'm still going to give them the information and highlight it with I'm going to use this page because I don't like the career life one. I never ever say modified life. I never ever say ALX. Okay? So here's what I would do. You've got somebody that's had a heart attack 2 years ago. You got somebody who is on insulin dependent diabetes, cancer within the last 10 years, whatever it is. Okay? You know what's so great about our policy is that you can actually get our best group rate. Even though you have these health issues, we can still cover you. Okay. You are still going to be qualified under this group rate. Now, yours is just a little bit different. Okay. It's still going to cover you, but this one's going to cover you till age 120. Okay. It's also going to be paid up in 20 years. That's a huge benefit, especially if they're older, right? Because they wouldn't be qualified for paid up at 65. They're going to pay on it till they're 100 years old. They're going to pay on it till they use it. So this one's going to be paid up in 20 years. Okay. The other great thing is it doesn't matter what's going on with your health or if you have a more decline or anything else. If you get put on a different medication, if you have another instance of heart attack or another instance of cancer, we're going to continue to cover you. Okay. What you set up is what you set up. Now on our life insurance, this one gains a cash value as well. Okay. You can pull money out of it. The first 3 years of the policy, we're going to put those premiums into a savings account. It's going to earn 10% interest on it while it's sitting there. Starting the 4th policy year, it's going to pay the full face amount. Okay. If something happens to you. Now, if you get hurt and die in an accident, it's going to pay full face value day 1. But if you're just die from old age or a health issue, it's going to be that first 3 years. It's going to pay your premiums plus 10%. Starting the 4th policy year, it's going to pay that full face value. Okay. Did you have a question, David? No, it is not, because it gains a cash value. Okay. So that's your disqualifier there. Group term is a pre-tax benefit. ALX whole life, career life plus, not a pre-tax benefit because it gains a cash value. Now, if you're familiar with your career life plus, that's what we pitch for kids, right? Pitch for grandkids and children under the age of 18. Or if you're in the state of Illinois and the spouse and the employee doesn't want coverage, you have to pitch career life plus for the spouse. Okay, because that's the state of Illinois law rule. Very, very similar to your ALX plan, the way that you pitch that. It's coverage to age 120. It gains the cash value, okay? It's a whole life, a traditional whole life plan. It's a great group rate, all those things. When you are pitching to somebody who has a health issue, remember, they already know they have health issues, okay? People that are morbidly obese already know that. People that are on insulin dependent diabetes already know that it's very difficult to cover them if they can even get coverage at all. If they've had a heart attack and they've had cancer, they already know that they're not qualified through a lot of companies. So focus on the positive. You know what's great? We can actually cover you. And here's what's great. It's a group rate. Here's how it's going to benefit you. Gaining that cash value, gaining the interest. Okay, does that make sense? We focus on the positive. Now, I want to show you this enrollment guide. Okay. On our enrollment guide here, I have a little guy printed like this that's laminated. It's on the other side, the little guy on that side, but then I blew it up on the back, okay, so you can see it because it's kind of tiny. But I keep that laminated in my enrollment stuff, especially whenever I first started. This is your quick cheat sheet, okay? So on here at the top left is going to have some policy codes. They're the most common ones for what kind of policy it is. On our old management reports, it used to just give a code and you'd have to figure out what that policy was. Now we have an updated management report that you can pull and it will actually give the description of the policies. Oh, thanks. It'll give a description of the policies so that you know what they have instead of having to decipher the codes. But if you didn't have that one, this would have the codes on there. Okay. All right. So then over here to the right at the top, this is the information on the birthdays. Okay. So there are a lot of policies that you need to know when the age runs out. Oh, this isn't my updated one. Oh, pooper scooper. Sorry, everybody. This on the screen. It should be this. I changed it to be 1943. I don't know what I did. So I updated the one that you have in your hands is correct. The one that's on the screen is not correct. I'll update it and then send it out. But 1943, if they were born in 1943, that means, or in that decade, right? They're between their 70s and their 80s. So they can qualify only for cancer plan and ALS. Can they do cancer plan? No.
Yeah,
69.
69.
69. No, only ALS. I just corrected myself. If they're already over the age of 70, then no. Sorry. 1950s, 1953 to 1943, that decade, they can. ALX, that's all they can get. Yeah, when they're over 70 years old. Yeah. I've run into several 70-year-olds. Yeah. Yeah, or I have schools, like I have people that come back after schools. Okay, so then you're looking at this age range to try to help you with what policies you can actually get signed up for, okay? And then if you guys look over here to the left, it says age limits are right there. Age limits. So CI is critical illness. You can get that until you turn 60 years old. AXMX is accident protector max. I'm going to change it and it's going to say APM because I like that better. APM, accident protector max, you can get it until you turn your 60th birthday. Cancer endurance till your 69th birthday. Cash cancer, that's the CC, is 69th birthday. ALX is till you turn 80. Group term 65 until you turn 55. Group term 100 up till age 70. Everybody get clear how that works? Okay. Now, then there's a box that says you're going to immediately go to ALX. Okay, if they've had a stroke, if they've had a heart attack, if they've had cancer within 10 years, if they have diabetes with insulin, doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2, and if they're on disability, meaning they cannot work because they're on disability, you automatically have to go to ALX. They do not qualify for group term. And then there's an auto decline section. Okay, that means that they're automatically going to get declined if they have HIV or AIDS, if they are terminally ill, meaning their cancer diagnosis was deemed terminal and there's no more treatments for them. Okay. Alzheimer's, dementia, if they're confined to a hospital, if they're confined to prison or jail, if they've used illegal drugs within 2 years. Okay. Lou Gehrig's ALS. Okay. And then down here, it also has the coverage maximums. So you can be reminded, it's a quick cheat sheet. Guys, this is not per year. This is total. So if you have a 50-year-old person And last year they wrote $100,000. Can they get another $100,000 this year? No, they have the maximum. That's on group term. Now they can have another 50,000 on career life. So if they want more than what they had before, and there's within that age range where they've hit their limit, then you have to switch to career life, the whole life product. Okay, which is more expensive, but some people that want a lot of coverage, they don't mind paying it because that's what they want. And then on the right hand side is the height weight chart. Okay, everybody has been to an enrollment before. You guys have all seen us try to ask what that height and weight is. Okay, if they're not in those ranges there, you're either going to need to have a conversation with them on how close we are. If it's like 2 pounds, right? You're not gonna be able to make a conversation with about 20 pounds. You can't just take a poop and lose 20 pounds, right? Sorry, David, but 2 pounds you could be like, oh, I drank a lot of water last week, right? Okay, but not always, okay? And then if you're not gonna be in that range there, then you guys need to move to the Career Life Plus product or to the ALS, okay, depending on where we are in that range. Make sense on those? So I would highly recommend as while you're learning all those rules, keep this little guy with you. Okay. It does help me. It did help me whenever I was first starting so that I had all that information really, really quick. And then I could be like, oh, you're 5'4" and you're 225 pounds. All right, we're good. You don't even have to like, hold on, let me look at it. Yes, it's in the e-app. Absolutely. You can look it up in the e-app. But if you're not quick on it, this is a great little chart. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the e-app. Okay. And we're going to pretend like we're going to apply for life insurance for ourselves. This is going to be the easiest way to do it. Just type your own name in, your own birthday, your own height, weight. Okay. So create an app for yourself so that you can kind of play around with this. The whole goal of this one is to look at the questions. Okay. We're going to look at the questions from the application. So do you remember how to do this, David? Okay, so let me show you. We're gonna go to, hold on 2 seconds. Everybody's gonna open their e-app and it should look like this screen right here. Graham, are you good? You're already on that screen? Okay. Did you hit sync e-app or you're updating your computer? Oh, well, did it say you had to? Yeah, well then it wouldn't have let you do anything else anyway. Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't let David bother you over there. You're good. All right, so we're going to David Wells. How are you doing over there? Are you have to update and sync too? It's loading. All right. Please wait. How about you, Red Kingdom? Do you guys have your e-app pulled up and an application, this application screen ready to go? Is that a thumbs up, thumbs down, Matt? I can't tell. You're so little. There it is. I know. You're like the little bitty window on this thing. All right, we're gonna keep going. Graham and David, we'll catch up with you in just a second. You got that? You're on there? Sweet. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna click Worksite e-app. And you're gonna click Start e-application. And then you're gonna fill in your name. Your state doesn't really matter. We're just pretending, right? We're not going to upload this, obviously. You can do test mode. I don't care. Sure. I'm going to delete mine whenever we're done. So just whatever floats your boat. And then we're going to hit continue. Everybody with me? So now we should be on this screen right here. Hey, Julie or Mallory, can you guys help Graham on that e-app? We're trying to get, sorry. Okay, and whenever you're on this e-app, since we're just pretending right now, you do not have to fill in your whole address and all that jazz. I don't even know when I was born. I just typed the wrong birthday in. Uh-huh.
1995.
I'm also 165 pounds. I look it, don't I? 5'10". All right, so all you have to do for this practice one right now is put your birthday in, put a height and a weight in, check male or female, and then go down to the bottom and choose full-time and do a date earlier than this year. So anything before 2022 in July would be fine. Okay, again, we're just practicing, so you don't have to be accurate here, but you want to be able to pull up the apps. Okay. So what you're going to do next is we're going to go over to the left-hand side and you're going to choose applications. And then you're going to hit add application. David Dwyer, you don't have to fill all that stuff in. I know it gave you a red box, but just ignore the red box for right now. Over on the left-hand side, you can hit add applications, and then add application. Okay, and then I'm going to have you check all three, the very first three. A255 or 250, sorry, A250 is the ALX plan. You've got Career Life Plus, which is what we usually pitch to kids or to spouses in Illinois without employee coverage. And then we have group term. Yes, already? So you're going to click the top three and then you're going to click next. The first one that should pop up is the ALX application. Okay, the ALX application is the most difficult one to fill out because it's asking you for more information. It's going to ask them for their license. Later on, it's going to ask you for their doctor's name and number because there's obviously a reason why we're shifting to ALX, right? So you need to provide more information. So we're going to complete this as if we have some kind of health issue. Okay, so over here, proposed insured, we're going to choose your name. You can type whatever number you want to into that box for driver's license. If you don't know your driver's license number, it's fine. Marital status doesn't really matter. Tobacco, non-tobacco, no idea. As soon as you filled in those boxes, then you're going to click next. Then it's going to ask you what kind of plan information. So it's only going to give you one option, ALX, because we're on worksite and your A250 is only ALX. If you were on an individual application, A250 is the only application that you're provided. There is no group term. There is no whole life, Career Life Plus. Hey, Julia, can you flip around and help Graham? He has a question. I'm not sure David's going to be able to answer. Okay, it's okay. I know you just don't have as much experience. So Julia's right there. We'll grab her. She's all right. Perfect. So then on the base plan, you chose ALX and then just choose $5,000, you guys. Okay. You cannot choose premium waiver and you cannot choose accidental death benefit on an ALX plan. Okay. It's never going to give you that. It's grayed out, right? But if you're looking up here, face value, I typed in an amount. Up above that is the total premium. Okay. The total premium. Now remember, ALX and Career Life Plus are post-tax deductions, okay? So that is literally what they're gonna have coming out of their check. So mine says $18.10 out of my semi-monthly check, okay? So everybody's number is gonna be different because you're using different franchises, we all have different ages, yada, yada, yada. Everybody cool with that part? It's like talking to a wall. Anybody here? Hello, yes, hello. It's like, this is Doubtfire. Hit next. And then this is where you're going to choose your beneficiary. Yes. Okay. You can just type something in, type in a friend or a spouse or whatever. Okay. You can have a contingent. That's completely fine. You don't have to though. Then you can hit next. Okay. Before we go to Career Life Plus application, I'm going to ask you to shift with me and look at the questions for ALX. So if you will go over to your left menu bar and click on the word questions, and then you're going to choose the first A250. This is going to give you this spot where you're going to add all the information that you need on this plan. Okay. The first question says, are they a citizen of the United States? Guys, it has to be a yes, right? Or else you have to provide some kind of citizenship, residency, all that jazz. So most of the time that's a yes. Have you ever been rejected for life insurance or been rated or failed to receive the policy? These are questions you need to ask that person, okay? And then we've already asked these questions, whenever we asked about the health issues and things like that, but this is where you're going to document that. Okay, so have you ever had do you have high blood pressure, chest pain, heart attack, stroke, any other heart or circulatory disorder? Asthma, emphysema, other respiratory disorder, ulcer, colitis, digestive tract disorder, whatever. All of these different things, okay? Hepatitis, cirrhosis of the liver, diabetes, endocrine disorder, cancer. Whatever their issue is that the reasoning that you've chosen ALX, you need to put that information in these boxes, okay? So everybody pick something that you want to say, yes, you did. So yeah, I have cancer. It's going to pop up a box. Okay, and what it's going to do, it's going to flag it and it's going to say, please change your plan selection to ALX if any of these following conditions exist. We've already chosen ALX, so that's okay. You're going to hit okay. And then you're going to have to choose a person, and then you're going to have to give some kind of explanation. Okay, so you can say, if you had high blood pressure, diagnosed with high blood pressure, 2017, takes lisinopril 10 milligrams 1 time per day. Have I been hospitalized for it ever? Yes or no? If I was hospitalized, when was I hospitalized? That's the date. Okay, how long was I hospitalized? That's what they're asking there. And this is where you're going to have their physician information, okay? Let's say you've got somebody that, I haven't gone to my doctor in 3 years, but I got them at the medical clinic that's down the road here in Swansea, Illinois. Okay, you're probably gonna have to Google that, try to figure out what their address is and their phone number. Most people, whenever you're doing ALX, guys, they have health issues, so they're seeing a doctor on a more regular basis. Just pick one doctor. Their general practitioner is fine. If they have a heart issue and they want to tell you they're a cardiologist, that's fine. You don't have to list all their doctors. But if you're doing ALX, they're going to ask you for that information there, okay? Then if you keep going down, number 19, this is important, okay? Has the proposed insured in the last 5 years had a physical exam? That could be just their regular checkup, right? They should have a physical exam within 5 years. The answer to that question should probably be a yes, which is going to flag it. It's going to say, did you have to go for a specific reason? You can just say annual exam. Again, you're going to list that physician's name, okay? You can also say see above because they can see those notes from above. If you've already typed it, you don't have to copy paste, okay? Have they had any medical treatment? That includes prescription medications. This is where you're going to list their prescription medications. Also, like I mentioned before, if you look at your left-hand menu bar over here, there is a spot that says notes. Everybody see it? That's where you're going to add notes for your application. So then I can add that and I can type whatever I want to in this box. So I can say diagnosed in 2017, got put on lisinopril. Do you see it on David's? Okay, I'm going to go back. So I was on my 250 questions. Everybody with me on this screen? Look up here for a second. On this screen, yes? Yeah, everybody with me? Okay, and I need to add more notes because there's not enough room over here for my medical treatment. I have to list all my medications, right? Because it only gives me a tiny little baby box. It's a tiny little box. So over here on the left, I'm going to scroll down. Here's my notes box on the left, and then view, edit, application notes. Then I'm going to choose my application here and I get a big box. Then I can add whatever I want. So this is where I'm going to say, I was diagnosed with PCOS. I had to take metformin. It's not for diabetes. It's for fertility. My doctor said I didn't have to take it after 2020, whatever. I take a water pill because I have this problem and this problem. I take Tylenol because of this, whatever. This is a huge box that they can see that. Everybody cool? There's always a notes box that you can add things. So like, if you have somebody that's like adamant, listen, I did this, this, and this, I lost 80 pounds. I don't have to take my insulin anymore. They took me off on March 2023. You're going to want to write that in there because if they pull the medical history and see that they were on insulin and they all automatically stopped in March 2023, they're going to be like, well, what the heck? This person's not taking care of their body, right? So that's where you're gonna wanna write those notes. Everybody cool with that one? Okay, there is a second page for the A250. Okay, again, it's gonna be asking about, have you had to have any kind of treatment for alcoholism, alcohol abuse? Okay, this is A250 continued. It's underneath the questions box. Have you used alcohol in excess? Have you used narcotics and hallucinogens? Have you used marijuana in the past year? It doesn't disqualify them, guys, but you do need to say what it is, okay? What happens is they get a tobacco user's rate.
Lame. Totally different.
I'm just saying. Usually ALX, like by the time that you've answered that question, they're already at the highest rate anyway, to be honest with you guys. So it is what it is, but okay. Do they smoke cigarettes? If you say, like, let's say yes, I'm going to choose yes, because I'm a non-smoker, right? It's going to, usually it will flag me. Sorry, I must have chosen tobacco user. It will flag it and say it doesn't match what you added in your A250. Okay, so it'll give you a little red mark. I will tell you on 27, I always choose yes. Is automatic premium loan provision desired? If available. What that means is if they stop paying their premiums, but it has a cash value, it will use the cash value to pay the premiums to keep the policy active until you can save it. Okay, so you choose yes if you can. Are you trying to replace or change any existing insurance? No, that answer is always no. You never want to replace something. Who has questions on ALX? It's the hardest one. So if you can do ALX, you can do all the things. Okay, highly recommend if you have somebody that has a health issue and you're not sure how to pitch it, ask a supervisor, take down their information. If you're in person and you're at a re-enrollment, you're by yourself and the supervisor's not there, you know what? I want to make sure I get you the very best rate, the very best things that I can. Can I give you a call? I'm going to make sure I get the very best rate. I'm going to pull some quotes for you. Get their information, call them back another evening or something, get with your supervisor so you know what you're pitching correctly. Okay, or have them do it and you listen. Okay. All right, we're going to go back up here to our applications. We're going to do the CLP, the Career Life Plus. Okay, so I've got my person. I have to choose my proposed insured. And then I have to choose, am I doing a with ADB and premium waiver, with accidental death benefit and premium waiver, or no accidental death benefit and premium waiver? Just so you know, if you're doing a kiddo that's under the age of 1, you cannot do accidental death benefit and premium waiver. It won't let you. Just so you know. So we're going to choose yes with, okay? And then this is an opposite issue. When you typed in on ALX, you got to type your face value. We typed, I wanted 5,000, right? So now this one, I'm going to type how much I want to pay per paycheck. Okay, so let's say I want to pay $15. It's going to spit out how much face value I get for my $15. Okay, again, it's based on your age. So if you have a little kiddo and you type in $15, you might get 50,000 back for face value. Okay, if you're looking for a specific face value, it's going to be a little bit of a playing game to try to figure it out. I'll tell you what I do whenever I'm trying to pitch somebody because I'm trying to go fast. I will type a ridiculous number into this box. Like I'm going to type $250 per paycheck. It will fix it for me and it will max it out. Remember, the most you can get for Career Life Plus is 50,000. So it's going to fix that number for you. Now you know the maximum. And then you can cut that in half. So mine's $69.44. If I wanted to cut that in half, so I'd have 25,000 in coverage, it's probably going to be about 35 bucks, right? It's going to give me an idea. I can cut that in half, kind of play with it a little bit. Does that kind of make sense, everybody? Okay, very simple. This one's the difference on this one is you choose the premium, not the face value. Okay, now we're going to go to the questions over here on the left. Question bar. CLP. So you can do Career Life Plus questions. I will tell you the hardest part of Career Life Plus questions is everybody marks the questions A and B no, and they need to be a yes. So the first question is the insurance applied for intended to replace any other insurance? That question should always be no. Then the next two questions should be a yes. Is the applicant, the employee, the person that you're sitting with, an employee at work on a full-time basis? They should be there on a full-time basis because you mark them as full-time. We're not talking about the kid that you're applying for. We're not talking about the spouse that you're applying for. We're talking about the employee at the workplace, okay? And then is automatic premium loan desired on all policies applied for? Again, I always choose yes there because it'll pay the premiums if they stop paying on their bill. Okay, then you go back and you answer those other questions. Have they been off work for more than 14 days due to illness or injury? Have you been declined or postponed on insurance in the last 3 years? Do you have HIV or AIDS? Do you have to seek counseling for drugs or alcoholism? Have you been confined to a hospital or a nursing home requiring institutional care? Have you had a heart attack? Have you had congestive heart failure, cancer, stroke, emphysema? All of those things. Okay. Again, you can add notes in that notes section, okay? You can add it. Now, because I've chosen some questions on that notes section, now I have a CLP box. So I can add things there. Make sense? Okay, final one. We're gonna go up to the application EGT. It's employer group term. You're gonna choose your proposed insured. You're gonna choose whether you're gonna pitch group term 65, paid up at age 65, or group term 100. Everybody underneath that, it says 10 RCW. That is 10-year renewable convertible. We don't pitch that. It's not great. If you want to pitch a 10-year term, you can talk to somebody else about it, but what we're pitching right now is group term, okay? Group term 100 or group term 65. Choose their birth state. And then you choose the face value. Again, it's going to spit out the premium. This one's a pre-tax for an employee only. Pre-tax benefit, okay? That box at the bottom, it says 125 amount, the section 125 amount. They can have up to 50,000 that's pre-tax. It is not 50,000 every time that you write them. So let's say 40-year-old person writes 50,000, or I guess they have to be under 40 years old. So let's say they're 23, they write 50,000. The next year they write another 50,000. The next year they write another 50,000. Only the first 50,000 gets to be pre-taxed. So you have to keep track of that if you're going to a re-enrollment, okay? And then we go to our questions for our EGT and our employer group term. These are the same questions, guys. Do they have HIV? Do they have AIDS? Have they had to have counseling for narcotics and alcoholism? Have they had kidney failure? Do they have cancer? Blah, 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 blah. You need to read through those questions whenever you're asking those people about their policies, okay? Especially if you're brand new and you don't know what you're looking for. Especially if a person wheels up with the canister of oxygen, they sit down next to you. Literally had that happen to me, right? It happens. Those people know that they are not qualified for a lot of life insurance. I can get them on life insurance. It has to be ALX, depending on what their condition is. But you can't pitch them group term and then be mad that they don't take the ALX that they find out because that person found out they have health issues, right? Who has questions on life policies? It's a lot, right? This is something that you're going to have to practice on a frequent basis. Going through an application and looking through these questions as if you were applying for yourself is the best way to do it, okay? Practicing doing those first couple of screens on an e-app is the best way to get fast. I've had plenty of agents come with me to an enrollment and they're like, how did you do it so fast? It's because I've done it every day for 4 years, over and over and over and over. You just get really fast at it. Just like we get better at our objections and our rebuttals, right? You spit them out because you practice them. I can do my presentation because I practice it. You have to practice it. That's just the same in here in these applications, okay? The most important part, if I can reiterate it enough to you, is you have to create the need. If you do not create the need, it doesn't matter how much you've practiced. It doesn't matter how much it costs. I don't care if it's $2 a week. If they don't need it, they don't need it. They're not going to pay $2 a week for something that they don't need. But if they need it and they know they need it, they'll pay a whole lot more. It's not up to us to judge their budget. It's up to us to paint the picture. Do they have the coverage that they need? Not taking advantage of people, but are you opening up all of the needs that they could possibly have? Okay. Red Kingdom, do you guys have any questions? Hold on 1 second, Jules. You guys are muted if you're trying to answer me. Kevin, Matt, you guys good over there? All right, cool. No questions. All right, perfect. Justin, Bailey, anybody else?